Hi everybody and welcome back. Today's little talk and rant is going to be on the healthcare industry. It's something that I have worked in for many years, and not only as a employee but also as a patient myself. I guess the situation of finding doctors, especially after COVID, things have got a lot worse. I have an issue that I've had with my spine, wear and tear over the years, doing things I shouldn't do, that's wore my spine out. And initially I started out, I had something else going on, so I saw a vascular surgeon. And the vascular surgeon also did things like pain stimulators and that type of thing in your spine to help alleviate issues going on. And she took one look at my x-ray and my MRI results and said, nope, you need a spine surgeon. Okay, well, great. You know, she's an excellent doctor. She referred me to a spine surgeon. So I waited 3-4 months it took to get into the spine surgeon. I get there, and I didn't get to see the doctor that she had recommended me to. I had to see the physician's assistant instead, which I have nothing against physician's assistants. I've worked with many great physician assistants over the years, but I wanted to see the actual MD surgeon who I was referred to. Well, I went along with it. I saw the physician's assistant, and he just said, oh, well, there's nothing I can do for you. You need to see a neurosurgeon. Okay. So I was referred to a neurosurgeon. And with the specific insurance I have in town, there's one particular huge clinic out there. I won't say the name, but it has many specialties under it. And I was forced to see this particular doctor because he's one of the only neurosurgeons in the area. So I waited again for a few months to get in, or sorry, not months, but weeks, to get in to see this doctor. And I arrive at the appointment. You know, I wait for a few minutes. They finally take me back to the room, and I'm get my vitals and information. I'm sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting, and nobody comes in. So I open up the door, I go up to the front, and I say, I'd like to speak to the office manager. They say, why? I said, because I've been here sitting and nobody has ever come in. Nobody's come and said anything to me. So the office manager came up to me. Again, down on customer service. She was very rude. You know, it was, she was dressed inappropriately to be an office manager. She looked more like someone that should be walking the streets. But she said, so what's the problem? And I said, the problem is I have an appointment that I took off of work specifically for. I've waited weeks to get in. I'm in the room and nobody has come to see me. And she just said, well, have a seat out in the waiting room. So I have a seat out in the waiting room and I wait. Pretty soon she comes and says, well, they forgot you. They don't have you that you're being seen. And I said, what do you mean you took me back to the room? You checked me in. You got my information. I had an appointment. Well, sorry, we just, it shows that you're not here. And I said, well, I'm here. And she said, well, so you still want to see the doctor? And I said, yeah, I'm here. I took off the time. So they said, you know, have a seat in the waiting room. I'm waiting out in the waiting room. Pretty soon everyone you could tell behind the glass is sitting there talking and nodding their head and acting all irritated. Well, I get to go back again. This time they put me on a different side of the clinic. I wait, and the surgeon comes in, and he's like, oh, so what is it that I can do for you? And I said, well, I'm here to see you because the vascular surgeon referred me. And I said the vascular surgeon referred me to the spine surgeon, and the spine surgeon said I needed to see you, so I'm here. And he said, well, looking at your MRI, you know, you aren't as bad as some of the people that come through. And I said, well, that's good, but I'm still having a lot of pain. And he said, well, how much pain medicine do you take? And I told him. He said, well, people live on that all the time. And I said, well, I don't want to live on pain medicine. I want something done so I can get back to a normal life. Well, the doctor, you could tell, was obviously pissed off because he was forced to see me for an appointment that I had scheduled, and they had forgotten. I don't know if I was pulling him away from his golf game or what the situation was, but he just kind of blew me off, said, well, you need to have some x-rays done and this test, and we'll get back to you. Okay, so I waited, and they approved the tests. I went and had the test just like I was instructed to do. Nobody ever called me with any results. I go online, I get a message from my chart that there's results in there, so I go online, and it looks pretty serious, like serious stuff to me. But again, I'm not a doctor. Never called me back. Never. I tried calling the clinic 3 different times. Never got a call back. Nothing explaining the situation. Finally, I was ready to give up, and then I thought, no, I'm going to get a second opinion. So I talked to my primary care, and I told them, I said, well, with my insurance company, this one particular clinic owns the area. And I said, I won't get a fair evaluation. And so I said, I want to go up to Seattle. I want to get out of the area where this clinic has no hold over what the other doctors say. Okay, so my provider referred me up to Seattle to another big, fancy medical practice that, they have several specialties, just like this one in town. And so I wait and call them, regarding the appointment, because no one ever contacted me. And they said, well, your MRI is out of date now. We can't see you unless you have new x-rays. I just had it. All this money spent, and I just had it, 4 or 5 months before. Not that much has changed. And they said, well, we can't see you until you have this updated. So fine, I had to get another MRI approved, more money, more copays. Waited for that, got that done, got the results, had it sent up to this clinic in Seattle. And pretty soon, I don't know, 3-4 weeks later, I get a call saying, okay, well, we can schedule you, we've got it. And I said, well, this is going to be a second opinion. And I do want to see the doctor. I want to talk to him about, whether I want to have any kind of surgery for this, or whether I just, I just want an opinion. And they said, well, we can schedule you with the physician's assistant. And I said, no. I said, I saw a neurosurgeon. I want to see a neurosurgeon for my second opinion. And they said, well, that's not the policy of the office. My insurance is paying for a visit. I have to drive all the way to Seattle from Oregon to be seen, and I want to see an MD. And she said, well, sorry, no, we can't do that. That's just not the policy. And I said, well, just forget about the appointment then, because I want to see a doctor. And, they said, well, we'll talk to the doctor and see what he says. Okay, well, I wait another 2 weeks, and I get a call back. Well, the doctor said that you can see the physician's assistant first. And I said, no, just cancel all of it. Just cancel all this crap. What happened to the days when you could see a doctor? This insurance isn't given to me. It's part of my employment. I pay a portion of it. I deserve to see an MD. I have nothing against physician's assistants or nurse practitioners, but I want to see an MD. It's like, is there a doctor in the house? Anyway, that is my rant for today. Don't know what I'm going to do yet, because obviously I can't see a real doctor. You know, I guess if my spine is cut in two, maybe I can get into one. You know, again, I know there's other people that feel this way too. After COVID, things are worse. This, though, started happening before COVID. And, you know, everything's online now, videos, this and that. And I'm sorry, you can't get a good exam online by standing up and turning around for the doctor. You know, they need to touch you. They need to listen to you. They need to do testing on you, nerve testing, different things to find out what in the hell's going on. You know, anyway, that is my rant for today. And maybe one day things will get back to normal, but I'm just afraid everything's going to get worse. Insurance companies don't back you up, but they sure the hell charge you. Anyway, have a good day, and hope everyone has better luck than I have. Take care. Bye-bye.